three, hit it!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And today I wanted to share something that I have been aware of for a little while, but I actually tried to share it for the first time yesterday on a Creating the Impossible group session. And it's about the difference between two navigational systems within the body, within the body-mind system. In other words, there are sort of two different ways that we have of finding our way in the world that are built in, but because we don't quite understand what they're there to do, and we often confuse the one with the other, we sometimes distrust our ability to navigate effectively in the world. We distrust trusting ourselves because we think, well, I can't rely on my feelings because my feelings take me to crazy places. I followed my feelings over the edge of a cliff into a terrible relationship. I followed my feelings into an awful business deal. I followed my feelings into a disastrous whatever it is. Not understanding that there are kind of two different types of feeling, one of which is, in fact, giving us really clear navigational cues for what we want to be up to in the world. But the other one, which is doing something completely different, and I call the one in the world the nav system, or your inner GPS. And I call the other one, or I've taken to calling the other one, our homing mechanism. Because it's like a tractor beam that when we find it, it brings us safely back home, back to that deepest place inside ourselves, that place of pure creativity, of pure potential, of innate well-being and confidence and ease, that always already place underneath the noise of our thinking and feeling. And here's how I distinguish them in myself. Whenever I'm feeling what you might call like a negative emotion, but I often just think of as like an ick. It's because I like technical terms. But when I'm feeling frustrated, when I'm feeling downhearted, when I'm feeling discouraged, when I'm feeling scared or even terrified, I used to think that was my nav system. I used to think that was telling me something about the world and ooh, I'm going in the wrong direction because I feel so terrible. But when I think about this, I don't feel so terrible, so maybe I should go in that direction. But that kind of a emotional feedback is really just telling us about our thinking. It's telling us, hey, the thinking that we're in is taking us away from home. It's taking us away from the best we have in ourselves. And if we keep thinking it, we'll go further away. But if we stop thinking it, in other words, we just kind of let it go through, then we'll find ourselves right back home, right back where we started, in that place of peace and well-being and clarity and genius inside us. And so instead of those feelings being enemies that you have to get rid of, or even as I started to see them for a time, kind of irrelevances. Well, I'm going to feel all sorts of things through the day, so I'm just going to carry on. They're very clear guideposts saying, hey, not this way. Not this way in your thinking. Nothing to do with your life. Just not this way. Hey, you're scaring yourself with your thinking. Come back to center. Hey, you're discouraging yourself with your thinking. Come back to center. Hey, you're disappointing yourself or frustrating yourself with your thinking. Come back home. And then start again. And the beautiful thing about the homing mechanism is you don't have to ever know which thoughts you're thinking, and you never, ever, ever have to try to change them or improve them or have better thinking. The feeling is the homing mechanism. The feeling is like the flashing warning light in most cars now, if you get too close to the car in front of you or the car behind you when you're parking, it beeps and a light comes on. And it just lets you know, hey, don't keep going this way or you're going to crash. Well, that inner homing mechanism is the same. When we're feeling those feelings of, when we're feeling those feelings, they're just letting us know, hey, your thinking is getting pretty close to the edge. And if you keep going that way, you're not going to like what happens next. Nothing good is going to come of that. And in the same way as if you put your hand on something hot, you immediately remove it. When you start to see that those feelings are just something hot, telling your thing, hey, you don't want to keep going here. It's surprisingly easy to let go of that thinking. And then you find yourself placed back in that place of possibility, in that place of well-being inside you, in that place of creativity. And then new thought comes. And that new thought tends to be better thought. Not always, but if it isn't, you'll know because of the feeling. So, in other words, your feelings in that sense are a beautiful homing mechanism. They're beautiful guides to keep you in the best you have inside you. What's the nav system? If I can't rely on my feelings to tell me what to do and not to do, oh, that's scary, I shouldn't do it. Oh, that makes me sad to think about that, I shouldn't do it. If that's not telling me about the world, what is? Well, our inner GPS tends to be so simple that it's easy to overlook. It really only speaks the language of black and white, of yes or no, of why or why not. And it's so simple that we often overlook it. You're probably navigating most of your life by it anyways, because you're not thinking about what you're doing, you're just doing it. And then every now and again you get a, no, I don't want to do that. And most of us have learned to completely override that and do it anyways, or even justify overriding it because, oh, that's just my conditioning. But if you start to listen to that simple yes and simple no, whether it seems reasonable or it seems unreasonable, you'll find that nav system is breathtakingly reliable and will guide you through any situation, towards any goal, along the path of any project, through any relationship. And it's nothing to do with whether you feel happy or sad, or brave or scared. It's simply to do with that inner yes and the inner no. So if you want to play with this over the next week, and I really encourage you to, just start to notice. Notice when your emotions are firing up, and notice that all they're telling you is, hey, you're going away from home. And when you catch that, it's just the simple noticing of it changes it, and you start to find your way back to yourself. But also notice when you think about what you want to do and what you want to do next and what you want to do now, that nav system is always there giving you a simple yes or a simple no. And often the simple yes, by the way, doesn't sound like anything. It's just not a no. But you'll find a feel for it yourself. You'll start to notice it in yourself. You'll start to notice yourself overriding it and arguing with it in yourself and saying no to your yeses and yes to your nos. But if you start following it instead, that simple yes, that simple no, and that simple pointer back home, you're going to find that your life gets so much better, not only on the outside, but on the inside as well. Have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk with you next time.